be there at your worst, wanna be there at your best, wanna be the place your heart comes to rest. Perfect isn't reality, that's not what I need to see. Don't want any made up versions of you. What I want most from you is knowing that you'll see it through. If hurt's gonna come, let it rain down. Not looking for shelter anymore. And just switching the audio over here. There we go. That's a whole lot better. That is Michelle Ryder, and she's going to be coming on the label. And we've got a single that's going to be released, actually re-released. And there's been a couple of things done to that original song, and it's going to be released under the Indie Tunes label. And she's going to be joining us tonight. But before Michelle comes on the show, we've got another person coming on here, and his name is Sean McKenna from Barstools and Bandtalk. Rimshots with Sean. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Great. And how's the weather out there in Halifax?
You know what? We got a lot of rain, which was needed because obviously everybody heard what was going on with the fires and stuff like that. So right. Couple hot days, but a couple rainy days too. So it's looking up.
So did the rain put out the fires?
There's a few hot spots around. I mean, it's funny. Somebody pointed out we didn't get a lot of snow this winter down here. So I mean, everything was really dry. Right. And you get people that are driving around flicking cigarettes out of windows, and it's just a recipe for disaster. So I think the weather's really going to pick up now. Right. And it'll be great.
Yeah, May was dry, and even a lot of those forest fires can be started by lightning strikes, eh?
Yeah, the ones down here were started by stupidity. So if you go to the news, you'll figure that out.
But that's never a good thing.
To that point, it was a $5,000 fine if you got caught burning illegally, and they raised it up to $25,000.
Right.
And there was a woman on the past weekend get a $29,000 fine. I don't know what the heck she did. I heard she was burning something in her backyard. So yeah.
Ouch, that's a big fine, man.
It is, yeah. Come to Nova Scotia where we fine everybody.
Hey, you're fine. I'm fine. Everybody's fine. There we go.
You get her.
All right. Without further ado, we're going to bring Michelle on the show. Michelle is a singer-songwriter. She's based in Nova Scotia and the Halifax area. And but we're going to find out a little bit more about her tonight because, we just are. And there she is. Hey, Michelle, how are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Great. Good to have you on the show.
It's wonderful to be here. Thank you.
So you've been a singer-songwriter for some time now, but I understand that your journey in the musical world started quite young.
It started young, very young, and then it stagnated for a while and picked up again when I was about 35-ish. Okay. And I got to try a few different things and get some experiences. And then I happened upon this wonderful website called Barstools and Bandtalk. And Sean had the vision to expand that as much as he could. And that included a band for the page. And when he started asking if people were interested, I put my hand up. And the rest is kind of history.
It's interesting because, Sean and I both met out of our love for independent music and independent art.
Yeah.
And I think that is a common thing that him and I carry together. That's one of the reasons I think we work so well together on the show.
Very much so.
And of course, well, Sean, you might want to hear it. Let's flip this over just real quick because we're gonna just do something quick here, Sean. We got an announcement to make for someone that's gonna join the show, and I know that Michelle knows him as well, right?
Mr.
Mr. Junior
Junior Leclerc.
Is he here?
He's not on. He's not online tonight, but okay. I was chatting with him earlier today.
Excellent.
Junior Leclerc, formerly of Q107, many years on Q107, is going to be joining us on the show, and that all came as part of this connection, right? I mean, I met Sean, then I met you, Michelle, through Sean,
right?
And then I met Junior through Sean, and Junior as well.
I do.
So it's a small world. I mean, the musical world can be somewhat of a small world, and in Canada, there's that 1 degree of separation, right?
Absolutely. I think when you share a common love, it's hard not to be drawn together.
Have you always lived in Nova Scotia?
I have. Until very recently, I hadn't left.
Okay.
I've been to Toronto twice now. I've traveled very, very little. Actually, I've just been here.
Right. So now maybe with this music stuff going on, you're going to maybe get out and do some more stuff, right?
That would be wonderful.
It'd be really, really cool if if we could get you guys come down to the Ontario area and tour the Ontario area. That'd be kind of neat.
Amazing. I would love
it. Yeah, one of the things, Ken, that I'd like to say. So when it's funny, I met you through Greg Sinclair of Warren Sin.
Right.
And we started talking. Right, and here's these degrees of separation. But when we put Side Hustle together, I was playing in another band, and the other band's shows got cut because somebody made a decision that they kind of wanted to do some more things on their own. So I put this together, and we first got it going, and my initial thing was almost like think Cher back in like 1990, where she had this big voice and everything was grandiose, but she had this smoking band that like kind of knew how to back somebody up. And so the first version of this band was great. We had some great players, but the version that we have now, I've never been part of a group that gets along so well. Like we rehearsed last night, no bickering, no fighting, no anything. It's quite amazing.
Yeah, and the cool thing about what you guys are doing, working with Michelle, is that I've seen some of your other shows that people have posted up on Facebook, or not on Facebook, on YouTube.
Right.
And you guys have done some really, really interesting shows and some interesting work with some mainstream songs that were hits, and you guys have put your own stamp on some of those.
Yeah, the idea, I mean, it's really funny because it was kind of like, and you can relate to this, Ken, you want to do all the songs that you heard when you were in high school and whatnot. The sticking point is usually you don't have a singer that can do those songs. And so when we started putting these songs together, it was like, okay, well, you get a singer that can do. We got a friend out here, Scott Forbes. He's like, Michelle can sing the phone book.
Right.
And so, that's kind of what the mindset was, okay, let's do the songs that you don't get to hear because people can't handle them. And it's kind of really resonated. It's cool.
And the cool thing about what you guys are doing with Michelle is that what you're doing really showcases her vocal talent.
That's the idea. And I mean, she can go into her background. And I know when you first heard the song, Ken, you talked about like kind of the Motown angle. And I mean, she can tell you, but she was in a Motown band for, I guess, 13 years.
Mm-hmm.
And so, it's funny. Myself and Peter, our guitar player, our likes as far as music are like this.
Right.
The shows are like this, right? So it brings a lot to the pot when we're crafting.
So Michelle, you sang Motown. When was that? How long ago?
I cut my teeth on Motown music. My mother loved it. It was always on the stereo. It was, my mother sang, my sister sang. So the three, and we were, a single mother and no money. So we spent a lot of time at home together, and we sang together a lot.
Right. So if you were the Motown artist that had a big hit, which Motown hit would you have written?
Respect.
Great tune. Yeah, great tune. Yeah. Great tune. So your mom was your mom loved that music, that kind of music.
Absolutely. Right? Absolutely. Yeah.
Now, did you perform that kind of music professionally?
I did with a band called the Sounds of Motown for many years, And that was a huge learning experience for me. A 13-piece band with a horn section and 5 singers that we would trade off all of the time, and it was just a really good opportunity for me to get comfortable with being up in front of people, because shyness was a big problem for me.
Right. Is it still? Do you still find it hard to get in front of a crowd of people?
I do. Humans are funny, you know. Human nature is to pick apart the way when you've got nothing to do but sit there and watch somebody, you tend to pick apart what's going on, and I know that that's happening. If I could hide and just be judged on the voice that comes through, but I'm actually getting much more comfortable with, and really it's the family that I'm with on stage. It's funny that Sean said that we do these songs because I can carry them vocally. To me, I have such incredible musicians around me. They can play anything. So I get to do music that I love because they can all play it, because a lot of people can't.
Yeah, and the cool thing about that is you can pick some unique cuts to play on your live show.
Things that no one else is doing.
Yeah, and then you know, I've heard your voice like really, really, really you know, got that soulful sound to it. But I haven't heard you like really, really give something sort of with a raspy thing. So have you taken on Joplin?
Oh yes.
Oh, I've got to hear you sing Joplin. That would be great. That would be great. I'd love to hear that.
Yeah.
You know, Janis Joplin was probably one of my favorite all-time singers. For female singers, right? You know, because when she broke into the world of music, it was a guy's game.
That's true. Yeah.
You know, it was a guy's game, and she broke all the rules about being female.
She did.
Because Janis wasn't the prettiest woman ever to be in rock music, but she made up with her moves and her killer voice.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, she exuded a level of confidence that, and I mean, maybe she didn't have that confidence, but it was there when you saw her live performances, right?
You could tell she loved what she was doing.
Yeah, there was you know, definitely a feel for that. So when you get on the stage and sing, right, you get out there for your first song, the nerves have got you, right?
For a few minutes, but then you disappear into the music, and it's just okay. I'm flying now.
Right. And how much does the band help you with that? Like you know, how comfortable do they make you feel that you can just meld into all that?
All I have to do is look behind me and lock in, and I know Sean's got my back no matter what. The guys would never let me down. I know how incredibly talented they are, and they're wonderful people. They watch me very closely. Even if I falter a bit, they immediately adjust, and it's okay. You know, I look over panicked, and they're like, "It's okay. We're just gonna do this."
So I'd like we did a show a month or so ago, and she was getting over a cold, and I mean, she crushed it. She did great, but she, you know, she was struggling to get every note. And Ian Fancy, our bass player, who's the newest member of the band, actually was the lead singer for a number of years. And we were about to go on for the last set, and Ian says, "Come here," and he grabs her. And what did he say to you, Michelle?
You're gonna make me emotional. Stop.
He imparted some words of wisdom.
He did. He said, "You know what? You got this, and you never falter." And she went out and she nailed it. And that's kind of the vibe that this group has. Like, I've been in bands before where, you know, maybe the singer competes with the guitar player or whatever. You know, Lucky's not I don't like luck, but I'm going to say she's fortunate to have a group of guys who have done it for a long time that, you know, my thing has always been, Ken, and I said to you this before, man, if you like me, great. If you don't, I'm fine with that too. I play for myself. And the other guys are like that. And I mean, when you see the band, you get 2 guitar players that are so different in personality and style that just mesh so well.
Yeah.
You know, and the band's, you know, I'm very excited to get this group of guys into the studio because they're just so proficient, and they take things so seriously. So it's very cool.
They really do.
Yeah, and now I want to come back to a little bit about this this single that we're going to be putting out, because we're going to be re-releasing it under the label, and Hurt's Gonna Come. It was written rather quickly.
It was.
It came to you guys really easy, and then all of a sudden, boom! You guys went into the studio and laid this thing down, and it was like literally like one take or something like that, right? It was really quick.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
I almost think I was being tested on that evening. It was just like, oh, she can write a song. Let's just do it. Let's just hammer something out. And it literally took a few minutes.
Yeah, the only thing that I said to Sean right off the hop is her voice has to be on top more.
Yeah.
Right.
And you did that in the remix. You absolutely did that.
Yeah, and so in the remix, putting your voice out on top and really just sort of giving it where it should be, right above the instrumentation. Because I remember the conversation we had about the music, and yeah, I mean the music itself behind your voice is important, but this is Michelle Ryder we're talking about. So we really, really want to focus on, you're a vocalist. That's your instrument. And we want to focus on that. We want people to sort of see that as the feature of what you do. At least that's my idea about where we're going with this. And so I said, Sean, now that vocal's got to come up on top there, at least a couple more decibels up there. And I love the remix. It's just like really, really great. And your engineer sent it to me in like super high definition WAV file.
Right.
So we're gonna, when we upload that and do the global publishing on it, I'm hoping that it's just gonna, take off for us, because I know you guys like kind of tested it out there. You guys tested the waters. You put a little video out, but it wasn't was it a lyric video? I can't remember.
Lyric video, yeah.
Yeah. My producer for Barstools, Jason McCorson, who's incredible. We did this song, and it was kind of like, okay, we want to get it, because when you say, it was the second week of December that we started to write it.
Right.
And it was out on the radio, I think, the first week of February.
Right.
And, when you say one take, the bass and drums are actually 4 takes, and we ended up using the first take, which is kind of the way it worked out. But, so yeah, Jason did that. The guy is just, you go to, there's another guy I need to introduce you. Jason, I need this, and he sends it to you, and it's just absolutely stunning. So we needed something quick because people want to see the video, and he put that together. So yeah.
And that got quite a few hits, right?
Over 10,000.
Yeah.
Right. So that's great. It's great that it got that many, because it grabs people's attention, and people go, okay, this is a lyric video. Lyric videos are not, they're not, what would I say? A lyric video is a lyric video. They're not always, some of them are different, and some of them are made really well. But the thing about a lyric video, it's, it's not as visual as an actual, video that has a lot of other stuff in it. And so when you look at that and go, all right, so this is definitely about the music, not so much about the video, and people really dug the track.
Right.
So and I don't want to hijack her interview here, but when it came out, there's an independent studio out here. Yeah, you're laughing.
Don't.
Yeah, you're laughing. There's an independent radio station out here, CIOE, and they picked it up. And the first week it debuted at 13, then it went to 5, then it went number 1 2 weeks in a row, then it slid to 3, then it went back to number 1. It went in and out, and then the last 2 weeks it was on, it wound up 2 weeks at number 1. And when they did the top 100, she had the only song, so she was 5 out of 100, and it was the only song of an artist that wasn't signed. So that's pretty significant for a tune that came together in about 15 minutes, I think.
Yeah, and it's it's a neat tune. It's got some thought out lyrics in terms of the lyrical content. Can you share with me a little bit about what the song is about, or is it too personal?
No, it's fine.
Okay.
More or less, it's just about not being afraid to take risk. As far as people get hurt all the time by relationships, and I think you have to, if you're really giving into it, you have to let a certain amount of abandon go, and you just, if it's gonna hurt, then bring it on. But I'm all in, and I'm ready to give it a shot. And that's exactly what it was about. If it's gonna come, let it rain down.
Right. Yeah. And the thing is that, you know, we never know when something's going to happen that's going to hurt us. Right. I mean, that's sort of the bittersweet part of life. I mean, you know, we never know what's around the corner for us. We don't know that the person that we're with currently could betray us. We don't know any of that stuff. And if we did know all that stuff, we wouldn't take so many chances in our relationships, and then make them really fucking boring.
Yeah. It would be,
you know. So I think, you know, that the not knowing and finding out as you go, and sometimes, you know, things can change as a result of how we treat one another. Right? You can treat each other like you want to be in a relationship, and then you can also treat each other like you don't want to be in a relationship. And, you know, usually how you end up acting is how things end up in the long term. Right. So what's the old saying? Act like what you want.
Right.
Right.
Is that why you're always so nice to me, Ken?
Well, you know what? I have to tell you, Sean, I don't always act like what I want. You know, people have seen the worst side of me. And thank God they know me well enough or trust me well enough to realize that that's not who I am at all times. But, you know, we all have our meltdown moments.
What?
Listen.
You know, and certain things that wouldn't be a meltdown moment for you aren't for me, and they're not for Michelle, right?
Yep.
It's so individual. I mean, it's like music, right? Music is so individual. I remember my friend Bob always telling me, Kenny, the great thing about music is there's something for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you don't have to like it. I mean, you know, and I've said that to people. Like, they'll say, well, you know, do you like my music? I said, it's irrelevant whether I like your music.
Right.
What's relevant is that there's enough other people out there that will like your music.
Right.
And that's what I'm after. I mean, you know,
your audience.
Yeah. And the thing is, I always hear a quality in music that people send my way. And, you know, God, I mean, if I took on every artist that came my direction, I'd have twice the number of people I have on the label now, and I wouldn't be able to hardly service anybody.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm kind of at that saturation point right now. Every once in a while, Brent Dorner, you know, will chat with me, and he'll say, Kenny, sounds like you're like really pressed for time. I'm like, yeah. I'm like a one arm paper hanger, you know, like frig. You know, I wish I had another set of arms and legs, because some days it's just like you're stretched, like, you know, that guy Stretch Armstrong. You feel
Yeah. One of the things I will tell you, though, Ken, that I learned from working with RFL Records, right, is that the people that you want to work with might not necessarily have the best songs, but they're the ones that want to do the work and work with you. Because when I was part of that label, there were some great artists that wanted everybody else to do stuff for them, and unfortunately, you know, and I know, and everybody knows, right? I mean, if you leave it up to other people, you're going to get what you're going to get. And so I think what you'll find is those people that are really working hard to have you help them are going to be your successes.
Yeah, and I don't think, you know, I don't think anybody that I work with particularly is, you know, demanding. I'm probably the most demanding on myself. You know, I put a lot on myself because I think this has to happen. This has got to happen. This has got to happen now. This has got to happen now. You know, and there's so much I could do every single day. I mean, some days I come in here after 15 hours out here, and it's like, oh, I've had enough.
Yeah.
You know,
as an artist, the days are gone where you can sit back on your laurels and just have everything come to you. Though it's just not going to happen if you're not ready to hustle. Then good things are not going to come. I'm glad I made it in under the wire with your.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I hopefully at some point in time I'll have somebody else jump on board and help me out with the label, because you know, I really want to pick up more artists down the road, and I want to turn the label actually into a nonprofit organization.
Wow.
That's actually used to help artists. I mean, the goal is eventually to take the profits from the organization and use some of that as corporate sponsorship to put bands out on small tours.
Wonderful.
Right. So even if it's only, helping defray costs by $1,000 or $2,
right.
It might be enough to help somebody put on some small
Right.
shows. Right.
Mm-hmm.
It means, you have to develop a tight budget, but, part of that whole learning process, just having gone through these live shows with Helix, helping them with their live shows, has given me a great idea for people like yourself, who might be interested in doing similar small shows.
Yeah.
Right, where you find these small community centers and play a show at it, not just at a club, but now you're playing in a community center. Now you got a completely different audience of people
totally
that are going to come out to your gigs, because they're not there as part of the scenery,
right,
or part of the scene. They're actually there coming to see you.
Right. Yeah.
And I think that's a really, really great thing. That you guys, if you guys can take it to that next step,
right,
even if it's just here and there, right?
You never know who you're going to end up in front of. It only takes one opportunity for things to
really... Or you find, or who knows? Maybe a corporate sponsor likes you well enough that they're going to corporately sponsor these small shows. And next thing you know, you've got a corporate sponsor behind you, and now you're able to start planning a series of small shows and go out on a mini tour and maybe play 10 different dates across, a province, right? That's why I said it'd be kind of cool if you guys were able to come down, to Ontario and plan some small shows around Ontario, because things are fairly close within driving distance.
Right.
Yep.
Within about 4 hours, there's a whole smattering of clubs along the whole 401 corridor.
Okay.
Right. And so, you could come here and you could literally book a few shows, doom, right? Especially in the summertime, right? Because in the summertime you get more people out to shows because they've got holidays and stuff like that, right?
Right.
Greg Sinclair says, "Hey guys."
Hi, Greg.
Hi, Greg.
Hi, Greg. Greg, we want to all thank you, because if it wasn't for you and Warren, Warren Robert, I might not know these guys.
That's right.
That's true. That's
Talk
very
about
true.
Singers. That fella can do it right there.
It's funny, and it's really crazy when you talk to people, because when I started doing this whole thing, and still sometimes I go, you know what? Some days I don't think that I'm anything that great, and then other people remind you that there's a skill set they see that you have, and that's why they came to you in the first place. Right. So, I mean, Warren Robert, for example, there's a perfect example of a guy who's extremely gifted, right? I mean, if you do a Wikipedia search or Google the guy, oh my God, movie credits, movie scores, placement in televisions and all kinds of other things. And so I said to him, I said, "Hey, War," I said, "Why me? Why me?" I said, you got all these sync licenses, you got music and movies and television and, all this stuff. And he goes, "Yeah, but I don't know digital like you do."
It's funny you mention that, Ken, because I was having a conversation about you on the weekend.
He was.
Right.
And it was about, so I was obviously referencing your story of finding, some royalties for Helix and whatnot, but I was talking about your love for analytics and your love for numbers and how you get into the weeds and all that stuff. And to me, that stuff, I mean, I get it, but it doesn't, interest me a whole heck of a lot.
Right.
But when you bring it up, I'm like, you know what? I do learn from it. And to Warren's point, you're also a guy that, you don't pull any punches and there's no BS. And so I think, people trust you and they know that, you're going to do what you say you're going to do. And that's a huge thing because there's not too many people like that in this business, right?
No, and I'm always, leery when I approach new relationships with people, because inevitably almost every artist I've ever worked with has had that story where they've been screwed over by a record label or someone that said they were a record label, or screwed over by somebody that said they were going to help them, and they end up taking money from them, but they never got any return on that investment whatsoever.
It's almost like if you don't have that story, you don't have any credit in the music business. You know what I mean? Because it's it had happened so often.
Yeah.
I mean, myself and Peter, we were 17-year-old guys playing in our first band, and we ended up getting sued by somebody.
Right.
And you learn pretty quickly, hey, it's not all about fun and nice people, right? It's
Right.
real life.
Here's an interesting thing. So we had the live Helix shows on the weekend, and then Brian Vollmer came over. What day did he come over? I guess it was Monday. He came over for a little bit to spend some time in the studio here with me, and we were talking. He said about music. This is about writing, Michelle. So this is going to be maybe important for you to remember. He said, remember when you write music, you're just a lightning rod.
Right.
Right. It comes to you.
That's right.
And then you have to do something with it. Right. And he said, just remember that you're always a lightning rod. And that's, I guess in a sense, that's kind of what I do helping artists. I'm a lightning rod. I don't consider myself to be an expert at any particular thing, but when I decided to do this, it's like, you got to understand what you're doing.
Right.
In order to do it well, and I think that came from being I was a registered nurse for many years. So,
really?
So having had that skill set is like a transferable skill set. You constantly learning. How do I get better at what I do? Well, the only way I get better at what I do is if I'm current in my practice and I know what's going on and I know, how things work out there. Yeah, and Jordan Match. This is another guy I had a chat with.
Oh, Jordan. Hi.
Do you know Jordan?
We do.
There you go.
With him here.
He says Indie Tunes knows his stuff.
You
no
sure
question.
Do.
He and I have had a couple of conversations about this very topic and how sometimes you got to find, work hard to find legitimate people out there who are not just after their own interests, but they're there to support what other people are doing. Right. And it's not, to a sense, I believe in the artists that I work with, but the other part of it is that I see something there that has potential, right. And because it has potential, then if it strikes people the same way, it's going to have potential for them. That's that whole organic thing.
Yep.
Right.
There could you could do a whole show on that. I mean, you really could, because here, I've had so I've been in the business my whole life, pretty much. What I've learned through Barstools and Bandtalk is that a lot of people are in it for themselves, and they will approach you and the guys that they want to help you, but at the end of the day, it's about them, and so you kind of have to, I guess, on one hand, know that and be good with it. And on the other hand, kind of like, okay, well, I'll help you, but look for the people that are true, and hopefully you find some of them, and you're able to help them.
Yeah, and so I mean, I think I think we were all meant to find each other.
No question.
I think that the three of us were meant to find each other. I was meant to hook up with Greg and Warren, and that came about. God, I don't even know how that came about. Greg, if you're on there, you can certainly say why. I think it had something to do with them sort of watching what I was doing from afar. Right.
Well, they put out a fantastic album that they were trying to get pushed, and I was even trying to help them a little bit. And it just, for whatever reason, the label that I was with, we couldn't make something stick. But Greg was getting frustrated, and I remember when he said, "I found this guy Ken," and he told me about the deal, and I was like, "Oh, that sounds really good." And I was like, I want to meet Ken, because initially it had nothing to do with, Michelle. It had to do with, hey, Barstools and whatever. And it's kind of, as I've get to know you, it's like, wow, you get this whole thing going on that makes makes sense with what I'm doing, right? So it's a good kind of partnership.
Yeah, and I think that when you introduced me to Michelle, it was kind of that whole thing of, this is what she's trying to do. This is what she wants to do with her music. Oh yeah, here it is right here. Greg says, this was a big impetus for things. I saw what you accomplished with Helix when you posted the amount of views and revenue you created for them. So I sent you a message, and that sometimes there's things that happen, but I took something that was already pretty good and just added some stuff to it. Right. The cool thing about Helix is that they've been known for a long time, right? They've got a massive fan base following. They've got a whole slew of organic followers, right? And this is the thing that I tell artists, including yourself, Michelle, is that as we go forward, we want to build an organic following,
right,
of people that follow you, and not just people that just follow you for the sake of saying, hey, I'll like your page or I'll like this, but people who actually follow you. They're interested in what you're doing to the point where they're willing to be those people that are streaming or downloading your music. That's the kind of devoted fan that you want to develop.
Yeah.
And part of that is developed by the relationship and the fact that you are sincere about what you do. I think that's going to be important in terms of how you connect with your fan base.
No question.
Right. Speaking of that, is there a Michelle Ryder music page somewhere where people can find you and stuff about you?
Yep, there's a Michelle Ryder and Side Hustle Facebook page.
Okay.
And we have a YouTube channel as well, and everything we do is on Barstools and Bandtalk and Rimshots with Sean as well. So
okay, so I'm gonna while we're doing that, Sean, you got a question from Michelle? I'm gonna look for it.
Yeah, it's a side. I think it's Side Hustle, Barstool, and Bandtalk. It's on Facebook. One of the things that and it's funny how many bands have been associated with this in my life. That it was just going to be a cover band, and then we started writing. The brand very quickly was Michelle Ryder and Side Hustle, right? And I'll tell you a very funny story, Ken. So I sat down with the local Molson rep here before our first show, and I said, I want you to sponsor this show. And he says, why should I do it? And I said, because when you're going to go, you're going to see she's got an audience that's 50% men, 50% women. So she's got all these women that have been loyal to her for years that come out to the shows, but she's got these men that come out too that, that come out. And he was just like, yeah, I get it. So we want to make sure we're careful with her brand. And so the stuff that may have been up before isn't there, but there'll be a whole big once this song comes out and is re-released, there'll be another huge push, right? But I do have a question for Michelle. I do have a question for Michelle because I think it might interest people. Well, it's not a question. It's a comment. When we did your interview for Barstools and you talked about singing in school, and you had a great and I think because this is important because for women, just tell Ken and the audience what happened when you had that outing because it's the precipitous for you not taking part in music for a very long period of time.
Yeah, I as you said in the beginning, I did start very, very young. I could sing really young. I have recordings of, so my sister is 3 years older than me. My mother's 20 years older than her. At 3 years old, I was singing harmonies with my mother and sister. At 6 years old, I got my first commercial. It was for Scotian Gold apple juice. I still have a copy of the check somewhere. But it took off very quickly. And in elementary school, my sister was in the junior high and moving on to high school. The high school honor choir asked me to participate in a big festival that they were doing. And so they were going to do this big production where the choir was on these two risers and they would all sing. And then these risers would back up and this little girl would walk out through the middle and sing the bridge of a Karen Carpenter song. And it was a pivotal high point for me. I felt, I knew I had done as good as I could possibly do. I'd really given 110%, and I didn't realize it would be a long time before I did that again. But I was met with criticism, and not from the general audience, from two old ladies that I could hear in the front because they were probably half deaf and spoke too loud, but they said, what a beautiful voice. It's too bad she's so heavy. And it absolutely cut the legs out from under me. It was all I could hear in my head for years. I could not make myself get up in front of people anymore because I just gave you everything and all you could see was that I was a 10-year-old girl that was, or a 12-year-old girl that was a little heavy. Well, I was going to grow to 5'9.5". So it was gonna, like, give me a chance, you know? But it stuck with me so badly. It never left still doesn't leave my head. I've just learned to reason around it and go, okay, you know what? That can't be what it's all about. And the women who come to my shows are not all, some of them are absolutely stunning, but some of them are not size 5 and 5 feet tall and beautiful and, you know, but we share something in common. We're imperfect, but we love music.
We're all imperfect.
Right. And I got this, you know, why are you holding back? Why are you holding back?
Right.
I would give them 90%, but I held 10% for me, because if I gave everything and it was criticized, then what did I have left? And I wasn't willing to risk it. Now I don't hold back anymore. They get everything I have to give them because they deserve it. Because they pay money to come and watch me do the best I possibly can. And that's what I want to do for them.
Yeah, in terms of that, you know, sometimes you just have to not care about what other people think when it comes to that thing. I know it's really hard. It's really hard to do. I mean, the thing is that, you know, I look at the whole thing as good press, bad press, you know, indifferent press. It's all good press.
Right. But how do you know that at 12?
No, you don't know that at 12. That's the thing. When you're a 12-year-old kid, it's like, you know, when someone says something so personal to you.
Yes.
And you know, no one knows what a person's internal struggles are.
Right.
Right.
We all have them.
We all have them. We all have them, and we're all imperfect. You know, I mean, even the most perfect looking person is not perfect.
No, of course not.
You know, dig deep enough, and you'll find something. Yes, right.
Well, so another important part of that story is that if you're going to be a live musician, right, you're going to have people that are in the audience. Brent Dorner would tell you this. Anybody you've played live before. You're going to have those people that no matter what you do, they're going to sit there with their arms crossed, criticizing. You can play 15 things great. They focus on the one thing you did wrong.
Yeah.
And you eventually got to get to the point where you just say, guess what? I don't care. I don't care what you think.
The worst audiences in the music industry are musicians.
No question. And they usually get in free and they don't buy any beer. So who cares what they think?
And play that note, right? Oh, you missed that run. Oh, you did that right. Oh, the lead solo wasn't right. Well, it's like, well, you should maybe talk to Eric Clapton, he'll tell you that he never played one solo the same as he played it on the album.
Absolutely.
Ever.
Eddie Van Halen, if it sounds good, it is good. End of story, right?
Yeah.
And, you know, I love telling this story because did you have Miles Goodwin on your show?
I'm working on it.
Yeah. Well, he won't come on my show either. But that being said, we were doing.
I'm a little bit closer. I got a maybe, and he's thinking about it. The problem is he's so busy right now with. I think he's busy with the blues thing. But I saw something that looked like he might have played with April Wine again.
No, he didn't. He was done. But you're a little bit closer. I'm about 45 minutes away from him. I mean, right? But the story goes like this: we had the privilege of opening for Haywire 3 shows here in Dartmouth, and the Saturday night. We end with Roller. And we're done, and I'm walking off the stage, and a good friend of mine, Peter Hendrickson, who owns Tortec East out here, comes up and he says, Miles is here. I looked at Peter and said, I didn't write the song, and I walked outside. Right? So anyway, I'm outside, and I'm talking to a buddy, and I feel somebody give me a hug, and I turn around. I couldn't see it because, you know, it was Miles, and he was like, I love your playing, great job. And I'm like, I hope you didn't think we were insulting you. And he was like, no, I love your drumming. The next day, he sent me a message. Hey, you know, you did a great job. I love your playing. It still hasn't come on my podcast. But my point was that it could have been Neil Peart, and I still would have had the same reaction. It was like, I got to believe in myself. And if I believe in myself, what anybody else thinks is fine by me.
Well, I know that I know Warren put in a good word for me with Miles, and I know that goes a bit of a ways because they're pretty good friends.
Oh, yeah.
So we'll see. Hopefully, we'll get him on the show. It'd be kind of cool to get Miles on the show. Here's an interesting thing. Greg Sinclair says it's very difficult, especially when you open up yourself with personal lyrics,
Yes.
and people criticize you. Ouch.
So that was the other part of songwriting for me that was an issue. I don't read or write sheet music.
Right.
So I had to be surrounded with a group of people that I felt so comfortable with that I could just sing a guitar line or make noises to tell them what kind of rhythm that I was thinking of. I had to find ways to communicate that with people it's risk, like, especially when you're with talented musicians, it feels very risky. And again, when it's so personal, if they criticize that, they're criticizing you.
Right. Something that might help you, because like some vocalists actually will, learn to play guitar, and just play the odd chord just to kind of get a sense where they're starting off lyrically with the song. If that's not for you, sometimes it's just a matter of being able to get those key notes in your head, so that you can at least hum them close enough. And then once you hum them close enough, the guys in the band will figure it out from there. Because
it's pretty good.
Yeah,
and I can play a little guitar and I can play a little keyboard, but I don't read and write music.
And you don't have to. I mean, I don't read and write music either. I mean, and neither does anybody that's in my band.
Yeah.
But we know what we hear.
Right.
Right. And we know what we're feeling when we're playing it. And that's the great thing about you playing with seasoned musicians like yourself.
Exactly.
Is that you can all play off one another and use each other's skill sets. And the cool thing about that is you challenge each other to become better at what you do. Right. The sky ends up becoming the limit. And, as long as you guys keep challenging each other to what you do, you'll just get better and better. I mean, will you reach a plateau? Yeah, maybe. It just depends on everybody's passion, right?
Yeah.
The thing is too, there's practices that I'm not even playing because they're working on vocals. I've had people say, "Are you guys using harmonizers?" We've got 5. I don't sing. I call myself a visual timekeeper, but I've got this bad habit when I'm if you know Robert Sweet from Striper, I stole that from him. But I've got this bad habit when I'm playing, I'm humming all the time. So if you put a mic in front of me, it sounds like something's going on. So yeah, but I'm fortunate that I've got four guys that sing amazingly well, and Michelle knows harmonies inside notes. So I've had people, what are you harmonizer tracks? And it's hard work, right?
Yeah.
And on the cover side of things, I mean, so Mark, our I'll call him our musical director. Nice. He wanted to do Styx because nobody was doing. We do 7 Styx tunes. He wanted to do Journey. He wanted to do Toto. So we're picking up stuff that not only is it hard to sing for a vocalist, but it's like, holy smokes, man! You gotta have 5 people being able to sing the stuff, and it's and then me with my ADD, man, I got to pay attention all the time, or she's going off the rails, right?
Yeah, I mean, the cool thing about that, what you guys are doing, is that, like I say, you play off each other, and you guys can help take the songs musically to a place that maybe even Michelle didn't imagine when she, conceived the song, or and I haven't even talked about your approach to songwriting. Do you get a melody in your head and then start coming up with vocals for that melody? How's that work?
Yes, to all angles.
Okay.
Sometimes I wake up in the middle of the night and the entire song, music, lyrics, everything is playing as if it's on a radio. I've got to grab my phone and capture it as fast as I can, because if I go back to sleep, it's gone.
Right. Do you guys record everything that you do when you guys get together and work on your music? Do you record everything?
No.
So here's something to try. Even if you just do it on a Zoom, right? A Zoom recorder. The cool thing about listening back to every session is that there's a learning that comes back. At least that's our approach. Our approach is like, we record every session, right? So we'll record for like 90 minutes solid, right? Then we take a break and we listen back to that whole 90 minutes. Right. And of course, we're fast forwarding through all the bullshit in between.
Yeah.
But we're listening to the structure of each track as it comes together.
Right.
And when you listen to it back as a vocalist myself, because I'm a vocalist as well as a guitar player in the band, I think, okay, we need to change the timing on this song slightly so I can change the phrasing of the song. Right? Because you, as you know, as a singer, getting the pockets just right for the vocals, so the vocals sit out where they're supposed to, right? You want every instrument in that band. Like, I notice you guys got a keyboardist, you got a bass player, you got a guitar player, you got a drummer, right? And my assumption is each one of those guys can sing harmonies.
Oh yes,
yeah. So the cool thing about all that is that if they could listen back to all their parts each time you rehearse the song, you're going to hear new things in that track. And that's the great thing about, developing, because you go, no, the song's not ready to record yet. And the reason it's not ready to record yet is because there's more parts. For Sean, you'll hear another fill. You'll hear a double or a triplet that sounds really good in there, right?
I was going to say it's a great point. And we have talked about doing that, because one of the things that and I kind of, one of my other sidelines is I do some recording for people.
Yeah.
And you'll work on something and then you'll go and you record it and you hear it the first time and you go,
yeah,
that doesn't sound anything like I thought it. And so you change it up. So no, you're 100% correct, right? Because I mean, it's just like, you just can't have stuff floating around in the air. You got to have stuff committed that you can go back to.
I mean, if you do it on a Zoom is probably the closest you're going to get to a decent sound where everybody can hear all the instrumentation really well, and you're not breaking the bank to do it. I'm fortunate because we rehearse in my studio, and all I do is click the DAW.
Right.
I've got a template all set up. We've actually got this template set up now where I don't even have to remix anything. All I have to do is master it. If we find the right recording that night, right, it ends up, we've got 2 tracks that have just come out, and they just came out because of that. That was our goal, is to do everything live off the floor, no dubs, no overdubs, nothing, right? Just raw off the floor. And so if we hear that song, that track that night, that's the track that ends up getting released, right? And you guys, I mean, it might be a way for you guys to work, but it just could be a way for you to develop what you're doing going forward, because you will definitely hear new things in the song. And the bad part about it always used to be when bands would spend thousands of dollars in the studio, record the song,
waste time,
release it, and then go, oh my God, there's so much more that we could have done with that song.
It's a good point. You want to know what? And if anybody hears Hurt's Gonna Come, they might laugh at this. For me, it's I call it my Stuart Copeland moment, because Stuart Copeland, when he recorded Every Breath You Take, he always talked about that being one of his favorite songs because it's him playing straight time.
Yeah.
And when we recorded that song, you go and look at it, it's 88 beats per minute. And I could put my metronome on, but that would be a quick track.
It's not a quick track.
It's not. Oh. So if I normally was to record a song at 88 beats per minute, I'm going to do math here. I'd put it to 176. When we were in the studio, Kyle, who was in my other band, he's like, I'm going to work with Michelle. You guys go. And so he recorded the click track at 88 beats per minute with Michelle singing on the scratch track.
Right.
And it was 4 takes. And honest to God, it was the most challenging song for me that I've ever recorded, because it was like, to stay on the click is one thing.
Yeah.
To basically keep straight time for that long. And, the joke was that I'm going to have to go back and relearn the one fill that I did, which is at the end of the song. But I've recorded a lot of stuff where I go, I could have done something a little bit better. I was a little lazy there.
Right.
It's probably one of the songs I'm the most proud of, because it's a discipline that I if anybody sees me play, that's not me per se. I'm bombastic, and sometimes I overplay, and sometimes it'll sound brilliant, sometimes it'll sound like a set of drums going down the stairs. But
and then Mark comes along and says, just take that one cymbal strike out, and you went, oh.
You know what, Ken? To her point, to Michelle's point, we were going over it the other night because we're going to play it this Saturday. Anybody that's watching is coming out. And Mark's like, if I was doing it, I would have taken the cymbal out. And so I did it, and I'm like, that's it. That's the part that I was missing, right? So yeah, you're right, and we will do that because it is helpful, right, to go back and listen to yourself and hear what's going on.
Yeah, I think it can be helpful if if you're wanting to kind of get to the point where you're thinking, okay, this is the best performance of the track ever. I mean, if you're doing it as a multi-track production, right? It's only important as far as deciding what's all going to go in the multi-track.
Right.
The way we do it, we're recording everything live off the floor, so it's got to be there in the performance.
Right.
Right. So all we're doing is looking for the best performance, and we go, and everybody always critiques their own part and goes, no, that's not my best performance on that song. I know it's not. I know I can do better. Right. And so you got to trust everybody else to say, yeah, I know when I've got the right performance for that song. Right.
Absolutely. It's about goals too. And I'd like to tell you 2 goals I have for this year, Ken, and I know you and I are going to make them happen, is I would love for Michelle to write a song with Brent, because Brent's been one of my heroes, and I've heard that My Wicked Twin stuff is amazing. So put in a word for me. I'm going to torture him until he says yes.
Well, hopefully he'll catch the show. He usually watches it during the show, or he'll watch it after the show. And Brent's writing. He's doing a bunch of stuff right now. He's in the middle of writing a rock album. He's writing a pop album. And both of them are so unique in his approach to writing.
Nice.
Even his approach to writing, some writers would say that it's pretty unorthodox the way he approaches it. But man, the songs are catchy, the lyrics are catchy, and he understands that like 30-second hook.
Well, all I'm going to tell you is, and I'm not no cheap corporate seller, but Brent, you do this for me, and I'll give you this very beautiful reissued Black Sabbath Mob Rules vinyl. Anyway, all joking aside, I'd love to have that. Another conversation I
there
had
he is. He's saying hello, Michelle. There he is right now.
Yeah.
Hey, Brent.
The other thing is, and I've had this conversation with the wonderful Darby Mills, who put Barstools nationally on the map, is for her and Michelle to do something, because those 2 voices, I think, together would be crazy.
Yeah,
that'd be a little bit crazy. That would definitely be a little bit crazy. Well, you know what? I told Darby she's got to get something new. I want something new on my label. So
she's been doing some amazing things.
Let's see what happens there. So the track is "Hurt's Gonna Come." It's gonna come out. It's gonna come out soon. We haven't got a specific release date yet on that, because I want to finally just spend some time doing some promo on it and kind of getting new life to it. And then what we're going to do is we're going to global publish it next to the existing one. Wait till the numbers migrate from the existing track to the old one, and then we'll pull the old one off the global publishing and leave the only one published under the label. So there's no confusion about who's working together and where your home is. And then from there, it's about pushing out some more music from you guys. I know you guys have been in the studio playing around with some new tunes. Do you got a song title at least you can share with us for something new that's coming out?
There's a couple.
Yeah.
Okay.
One might be called "Watch Me." One might be called "Let's Fly."
Yeah.
Let's Fly.
Yeah, there's a bunch. And Ken, I was going to say, that's why I like you with all that explanation. I don't know. I can't find my wallet right now, and you're able to put all that stuff together. So that's fantastic.
I wish he was joking, but he's not.
Yeah, and I'm watching the ticker. To Brent's still there. Brent, there's that Mob Rules album just for you, friend.
There you go, Brett. We were talking about that Michelle would like to collaborate at least on one song with you.
Yes.
So that'd be kind of fun to do that.
You know what? I just Brent, being a drummer, and always I'm super hard on bass players. Brent was always one of those guys growing up. To me, just seemed like such a chill dude. And when I had the opportunity, Lemmy from Motorhead said Helix was one of the best live bands he ever saw. I saw them open for Triumph here in Halifax.
Yeah.
And there was all this chaos going around him, and he seemed to be the guy that held the fort down and still looked cool. So that'd be a bucket list thing for me, Brent. So there you go, Mob Rules. Let's make her happen, bud.
It's funny. So here's the thing. So the interconnectedness, and I know we're at the top of the hour, but this is worth sharing. So how we all end up being interconnected. So Brent came to me ahead of everybody else, ahead of you guys. And Brent came to me recommended by a guy named JB Stryker, who you probably have seen on Facebook, who belongs to the Living Room Rock Stars.
Yep.
And he recorded a couple of albums, at least one album at Jukasa Studios, which is on the Ashwegan Reserve here in Ontario. It's a kick-ass studio, man. I'm telling you, state of the art. They've got the Abbey Road board there.
Oh wow.
Brent says, yes, please, let's record Michelle. There you go, right there. So you got a gold and platinum guy who's willing to do some writing with you there. So that is a really, 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 really cool thing. And Brent also said it's a good song. So there we go. He'll give you some his viewpoints on songwriting. He'll talk to you about things that he thinks you could do with your voice, because he's all about trying to experiment and find the best in music.
Amazing.
And he writes some really great stuff. We're actually in the process. I've actually got him digging into stems for old albums that he released that I want to remix and master.
That'll be fun.
Because those were songs that he wrote way back.
Right.
After he left Helix, and while he was really crazy busy working in construction. So
is there anything that man doesn't do?
He actually had a patented post hole digger, and had a post hole digging business that was very successful. Yeah.
Would you believe carpentry is my trade as well?
Oh, there you go. You guys got something in common.
I'll see.
There you go.
I didn't know you were a nurse, so
there you go. And there you go. And Helix has a song called "Even Jesus Wasn't Loved in His Hometown."
There you go. And I'd like that. I just got a brand new set of vice grips from the dollar store last week, so I could at least hold my end of the conversation up.
Right.
Oh my God, so crazy. There's just, I mean, the interconnectedness that there's 1 degree of separation. So, anyways, JB introduced Brent. Brent came on board with my label before JB even came on my label, which is so weird. And then Brent's talking to Brian Vollmer of Helix, and one thing leads to another, and Brent says, "Oh, okay, you should try Ken out at Indie Tunes Records." The next thing you know, Brian Vollmer is contacting me and asking me to manage Helix's digital. Oh, by the way, if you guys have never listened to their second album called White Lace and Black Leather,
yes, I have.
it is right now currently on digital. First time ever on, I think it was released on CD before, but not on a digital download. You can actually go to our website and you can actually listen to every track in its entirety. I've digitally enhanced those tracks, and they sound killer, if I say so myself.
So, Michelle, you see how Ken does that? He gets the sales pitch in. You don't feel like you're buying anything, right? I don't feel like it's Billy with the slap chop here, man. He's giving me some real.
He's always
stuff,
closing.
So I'm gonna go look for that for sure. That's one of my favorite albums.
I got to come up with something like 2 all beef patty, special sauce, lettuce, cheese, pickles, onions, sesame seed bun. I need to do that, something like that.
Timeless.
Yeah,
timeless.
So it's timeless, right?
I'll write one for you.
Michelle, we got to have you back on the show to talk a little bit more as things go on. You've done a lot of different things. You've done shows with Symphony Nova Scotia.
Yes.
So you've got quite a resume of things that you've done over time, stuff that maybe you don't even consider as being important, but I see those things as things that stand out,
right?
And I'm hoping that you guys really work hard on these next few tracks.
Oh yeah, it's coming. What I will tell you, Ken, part of I guess when we first put this thing together, part of the trepidation I might have had with bringing Michelle into the fold, because I mean her and I didn't know each other beforehand, but it was like having played with Symphony Nova Scotia, these people that kind of knew what they were doing, and there's me and all my buddies that are ugh, and and it was kind of like, okay, but it was a little bit of a, do I bring somebody that actually was around players into this outfit? However, You get to find out that you and your buddies aren't so bad either, and it just kind of worked out right. So it's
maybe you should have called it Michelle Ryder and the Flintstones.
That's right. You have no idea.
The incarnation.
You have no idea.
Are you Fred or Bernie?
Who, me? I'm Mr. Slate with hair, I think.
You're fired. You're fired. You're fired.
You're fired. Oh,
well, I mean, I sometimes get a bad rap. I'm laser focused, right? So it's like, hey, I don't think anything different of you. Like, I'm going this way, and if you want to come with me, great. If you don't, I'll find something else for you to do, and I'm on to the next thing. And it kind of some people kind of tag me with being, aloof or whatever. But it's just if I stop and I have too much time to look at the wall. A lot of my momentum, and momentum's a huge thing. And I'm constantly trying to keep momentum going, and it's just it's not like I want to leave somebody behind, but I also know that I'm driven to do what I want to do. So, yeah.
Right. So we're gonna do some promo on this single. Hurt's gonna come. We're gonna get it out there to the masses, and then of course the pressure is on for the next follow-up single.
No problem.
So we'll be expecting that in the next short order. We want to have you back on the show, Michelle, to talk a little bit more about what you guys are doing out in the Nova Scotia music scene, and what Michelle Ryder and Side Hustle is doing together, and the shows you're playing. You guys play at a few places in the local scene, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we do Monty. One of the things that we started doing, and I think we're going to do more of, is basically creating our own shows. So going and getting a venue and, doing a ticketed event. And, some people are like, you're playing for the door. Well, no, you're not playing for the door when you're promoting it and you're doing all those things. Playing for the door for me is, you show up and you hope people come. And, we work our butts off to get people in there. And they wind up being fun because we can bring other bands on. Everybody can kind of share in the wealth type thing, and it winds up being an event as opposed to, just another night at the club, right?
Yeah, and you get different people out to the show, and I mean, who says that the show has to be an evening show? It could even be an afternoon matinee.
Well, and you know what? We've done that, and one of the things, it was really funny. Like the hour, our first show was like 7 till 9 o'clock because it was the tail end of everything being shut down, and I remember thinking at the time, man, I like playing late. And I was done at 9:30. I'm like, this is cool. Let's keep this going, right? And unfortunately, things have crept back up. We play one bar in Halifax where we're done at 3:30. Yes, that's a.m. And that can be a little long in the tooth. But yeah, you're gonna see a lot of more of these ticketed events and stuff take place. I think it's the way for us to go anyway.
Yeah, and so hopefully those things happen in the future. So we're gonna cut the show off here, and we're going to say goodbye to everybody. So from Sean and from Michelle out in Nova Scotia, I'm Kenny, and he is not, and Michelle is not. So have a great night, everybody. Yes, Brent, he's trying to bribe you with that album. There you go. All right. Okay. Nice smile for everybody as we say goodbye.
Thank you. Good night.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Good night.